We have us a very good matchup as the Los Angeles Rams are taking on the Philadelphia Eagles in Philadelphia. This is your NFC Divisional Round 2025 prediction and preview video. Hit subscribe button if you're new. Also hit the like button. We have both teams that are coming off of strong wins the previous week, but let's start off with the home team, the Philadelphia Eagles. Last week, the Philadelphia Eagles defeated the Green Bay Packers 22-10, and the national media came out. Not for Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley had a very good day. Saquon Barkley on the day had 119 rushing yards. He averaged 5 yards a carry. And the longest rush of the day went for 17 yards. The Packers played very good defense throughout the entire game on the Philadelphia Eagles. The national media came out for Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts only had 131 passing yards on the day. He did have 2 passing touchdowns. That would get it done. A.J. Brown had 3 targets, 1 catch, 10 yards. Devontae Smith, 4 catches, 55 receiving yards. That led the team on the day in terms of receiving yards. Dallas Goedert, 47 receiving yards, 1 receiving touchdown. Jahan Dotson finally got a touchdown with the Philadelphia Eagles in a major game. When I look at what happened last week, it wasn't the cleanest win, but a win in the playoffs is a great win because you're one step closer to your ultimate goal in winning a Super Bowl in this league. Jalen Hurts does need to play better in this matchup. He missed A.J. Brown on a huge play. They went for a fake tush push, and A.J. Brown was wide open, and Jalen Hurts missed him. He has to be more accurate on those throws. But at the same time, Jalen Hurts has missed the last few weeks previous to this game dealing with a concussion. And usually when quarterbacks come back from a concussion injury, they don't look the same. It takes some time to go out there and fully recover from that injury. I expect for A.J. Brown to go out there and to see the football a lot in this matchup. Remember what happened the week before they went against the Steelers. When they went against the Steelers in that matchup, you saw A.J. Brown get a lot of targets in the first quarter. And I expect for the same thing to happen in this matchup. And after that game against the Steelers, Jalen Hurts came out. And the first thing that he said to the media, I guess that's what you guys wanted to see. So he's going to go out there. He's going to feed A.J. Brown. I don't expect for the camera to pan over and to see A.J. Brown reading a book and just basically just trying to calm himself down. A.J. Brown does need to calm down. He's not being a diva about it, but the national media, they're blowing this out of proportion. And when I look at the Los Angeles Rams, this is not your first time facing this team this season. The last time that you faced the Los Angeles Rams a couple months ago, you beat them 37-20. Jalen Hurts in that matchup only had 179 passing yards, 1 passing touchdown. It was Saquon Barkley, who had 255 rushing yards. He averaged 10 yards a carry. He did have a long rush that went for a touchdown, so it kind of messes up the numbers here, but he was still dominant on the day. And he had 2 rushing touchdowns to add on to that total. But A.J. Brown had 109 receiving yards, 1 receiving touchdown. Saquon Barkley also had 47 receiving yards, adding on to that rushing total. This is a run-heavy team. This is a run-first team. Don't get away from what works. Running the football may be boring for some. In my opinion, I love to see the offensive linemen go out there and move bodies, and I love to see defensive linemen go out there and try to move bodies. But the key to success for the Philadelphia Eagles all season long, let's not act like this is something new here, is to run the football. Even when Jalen Hurts went to the Super Bowl a couple of years ago against the Chiefs and they came up short, yes, he was passing the football around, but they ran the football at a high rate with Miles Sanders. And you have Kenneth Gainwell. Run the football on the Rams. Make them sell out to stop the run, and then you can work off a play action. And I've seen Jalen Hurts go out there and miss easy passes, but at the same time, I've seen Jalen Hurts go out there and make some crazy throws also. All he has to do is manage the game and take care of the football. That's it. The Philadelphia Eagles, they have the winning formula. A run-heavy team with key receivers on the outside like A.J. Brown, like Devontae Smith, and one of the best defenses in the league. Statistically, the best total defense this season. From the back end and also through their front 7, they are going to be fine. But just don't get away from your game plan. We've seen this in the past with Kellen Moore. Not with this Eagles team, but we've seen this with the Dallas Cowboys and with the Chargers in the past when he was their offensive coordinator. He'll go out there, he will get away from the run, and he'll try to throw the football all over the field. You don't want to do that against this Rams team. Take those deep shots when you need to. Be creative. Get A.J. Brown the football when you need to, up the seams, across the middle of the field. Sure, keep him happy, but you have to feed Saquon Barkley. Get him over 25 touches in this matchup. And I'm being serious here. He was statistically the best running back this season for a reason. You feed him in this matchup and you force the Rams to run sideline to sideline, work off a play action, and then you let Jalen Hurts use his legs. Jalen Hurts had 39 rushing yards against the Rams. You can run a very good RPO type of system with Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, and A.J. Brown in this matchup and test out those linebackers. That's going to be the key to victory here for the Philadelphia Eagles, is to keep an open offense at all times, yes, to keep the Los Angeles Rams honest, but you want them to crowd around the line of scrimmage because Jalen Hurts can take off with the football and he has the mobility to create a lot of chaos on the back end. It just comes down to his execution with his arm. That's it. Besides that, the Philadelphia Eagles could easily go out there and put up 30-plus points in this matchup against the Rams. It's going to be tricky because the Rams have a very good front seven. And when I look at their front seven, I'm talking about the pass rushers that they have with Jared Verse, Byron Young, Kobe Turner, and Braden Fisk. They have a lot of good pass rushers. But usually, when a defense has a lot of good pass rushers, they're not concerned about stopping the run. They want to go back there and pin their ears back and get to the quarterback. So you force them to try to go out there and stop the run, make them be one-dimensional on the defensive end, and make them play single coverage, and you know what's going to happen at that point. And I'm also looking at Devontae Smith. Devontae Smith, in the first matchup, he wasn't able to play. Devontae Smith was not on the field. You were limited at the wide receiving position. You had Dallas Goedert, of course, at the tight end spot, and Jahan Dotson. Now you're adding in Devontae Smith. He's one of the best route runners in this league. Be on lookout for him with those deep shots down the field, and the same with A.J. Brown. I think the Philadelphia Eagles will be okay. Just stick to your game plan. Forget what the national media is saying. Now, when I look at this defense was dominant last week. They forced Jordan Love to go out there and throw 3 interceptions on the day. Now, the last time that you went against Matt Stafford and crew, Matt Stafford had a solid game. Matt Stafford had 243 passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns. And Kyron Williams has 72 rushing yards and 1 rushing touchdown. Puka Nacua was the main guy. He had 117 receiving yards, and Cooper Kupp had 60 receiving yards. It's going to be very interesting to see how Vic Fangio comes out and how he tries to play against his Rams team again. In the first game, they were too aggressive in the first half. They played back, then they got right back into their groove as the game went on. You want to put a lot of pressure on Matthew Stafford. We've seen this in the past. When Matthew Stafford has enough time in the pocket, he will pick you apart. And he still has those big-time plays to where he will move outside the pocket and he will crush you with his arm. But this is why I look at the Philadelphia Eagles. You have a lot of good pass rushers. Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Nolan Smith. Nolan Smith last week was a major headache for Jordan Love. Anytime Jordan Love tried to drift outside the pocket, Nolan Smith was right there. And you have Zach Bond, who has been one of the best cover linebackers this season and is amazing in stopping the run also. And I look at Josh Sweat. So your key here is to put a lot of pressure on Matthew Stafford and be on lookout for Bryce Huff. Bryce Huff is more so of a third down rotational pass rusher. But if you're in third and long situations, he could come off the edge and he could put a lot of pressure on Matthew Stafford. You want to create a lot of chaos up front. And you can send in some blitzes. Vic Fangio is not known for sending in blitz packages, but when he does, he'll send them with his linebackers. And you have the linebackers that are equipped for that. But at the same time, one of your best linebackers, one of your best speed linebackers, he's going to be out for this game. And that's Nakobe Dean. He's going to be out for the rest of the playoffs. He hurt his knee against the Green Bay Packers. Be on lookout for that because he did so many things in that linebacking room in terms of covering tight ends across the middle of the field, stopping running backs out of the backfield, sending him in on blitzes. And we've seen Vic Fangio, when defensive players go down, he can go out there and he can make a lot of smooth adjustments on the fly. So do not be surprised if the next man up comes in for the Eagles and they look solid with this team moving forward. When I look at the secondary, you have Quinyon Mitchell, you have Cooper DeJean, and you have C.J. Gardner-Johnson with Darius Slay. You have all the pieces up front to give Matthew Stafford a lot of problems, and also on the back end. Press man coverage is the way to go in this matchup, but you have to be careful. It's going to be great seeing the matchup between Cooper versus Cooper yet again. I'm talking about Cooper DeJean going against Cooper Kupp. Then you have Quinyon Mitchell going against Puka Nacua. You have to be careful here because it's more than just those two top receivers. They have Tutu Atwell, they have Demarcus Robinson, and you're going against a veteran quarterback and Matthew Stafford. This is not going to be a cakewalk. Because on average, and I've seen this in the past with Sean McVay, he rarely gets blown out twice. He doesn't get embarrassed twice, and that's what you can say about a lot of top coaches in this league. But when I look at Sean McVay is a smooth head coach. He's a smooth play caller. He'll also try to come out there and trick you and give you different looks with that motion. And be on lookout for Kyron Williams as a wide receiver in the red zone. Whenever Brian Flores was sending that blitz in the first matchup against the Vikings and in the second matchup last week, Kyron Williams was wide open underneath. I don't expect for the Eagles to go out there and leave him wide open, and he is a touchdown machine. Be on lookout for him. It's a lot of motion that goes on with this Rams team and a lot of extended handoffs when they have Puka Nacua sitting alongside Cooper Kupp, and then they may motion out Puka Nacua and then motion him back in alongside Cooper Kupp to see if you're playing man coverage, to see if you're playing zone coverage. For the ones that don't know, a lot of coaches do that because it gives the quarterback an easier look at the defense, and they can try to pick you apart with 3 to 4 yards at a time. And the Philadelphia Eagles did a great job of disguising their coverages in the first matchup. It's going to be very interesting to see Sean McVay going against Vic Fangio yet again. Now, let's talk about the Los Angeles Rams. Last week, the Rams went out there and they completely dominated the line of scrimmage against Sam Darnold and the Minnesota Vikings. They beat the Minnesota Vikings 27-9. And you can say the defensive pressure got to Sam Darnold all day long. And that is true. They sacked him 9 times on the day. But that secondary was cooking. They didn't let Justin Jefferson go out there and get open much. They played an excellent game against TJ Hockenson and also Jalen Naylor. Your cornerback's going to have to step up in this matchup against the Philadelphia Eagles. And you're going to have to put that pressure on Jalen Hurts. The problem is this. This is a young defensive team, and you're going against a lot of veterans on that offensive line. Can you put enough pressure on Jalen Hurts, and can you make him beat you with his arm? And I'm not saying go out there and just leave guys wide open and just worry about Saquon Barkley. Obviously, you have to go out there and stop the run. Stop the rushing attack with Jalen Hurts. Stop the rushing attack with Saquon Barkley. The man had over 250 rushing yards in the first encounter. I don't know how Chris Shula is going to come out and attack this, because most teams, they'll go out there, they'll put an extra lineman on the field. But I don't think the Rams need to do that in this matchup, because if you do that, you're really compromising your secondary. You put in an extra defensive lineman or an extra linebacker, you're taking the defensive back off the field, or you're taking a linebacker off the field, and that can hurt you, especially if Saquon Barkley gets to the second and third level. And speaking of that first game, it was too many times to where the Los Angeles Rams were getting beat up on the inside. The interior of this defensive line got bullied in the first matchup against the Eagles. It was a bunch of trap plays, a bunch of counter plays, and Saquon Barkley, he's a genetic freak. He puts his toe into the ground, he'll take it to the outside. He's off to the races. You can't let him get to the second and third level. The defensive linemen have to just get right there and gang tackle Saquon Barkley. And it starts up front with guys like Bobby Brown. And it also starts with Kobe Turner. And Kobe Turner is an elite pass rusher in this league. Last season as a rookie, he led all rookies in sacks. And this season, he was a solid sack monster yet again. The problem is this. They need someone else alongside him to go out there and to stop the run and to put a lot of pressure on the opposing quarterback. And you have those guys on the outside, but I am worried about the interior with this team. And I like the linebackers that they have. Their linebackers run fit very well. Omar Speights, you have Christian. I like those guys on the interior. The problem is just your defensive line. Jared Verse is going to be in the Defensive Rookie of the Year conversation with how amazing he's been this year. And the Philadelphia Eagles, they have a great offensive line from tackle to tackle. You have to be creative here. Now look at Chris Shula. You just can't rush your linemen. Run some different twists, run some different stunts up front, and try to run some blitzes off the right side. Jalen Hurts in the past has struggled against the blitz because he had a bad coach in Coach Johnson last season. Now you have Kellen Moore, who is using a lot of motion in his own right, just like how Sean McVay is using a lot of motion. They'll use motion with Devontae Smith. They'll use motion with tight ends coming across the field. You have to be careful with those plays because they can either run the football or work off of RPO. And look at one of the motion plays last week. They had a motion play. The Packers sold out for the run. He hit him over the top with Devontae Smith. Plays like that can hurt you in this game. But you have to go out there, contain the run, and force Jalen Hurts to beat you with his arm. And I look at the guys in the secondary. You have Quentin Lake, Cameron Curl, Darius Williams. They had an amazing game last week. Can you replicate it in this game? And yes, it starts up front, but those cornerbacks, they're going to have a lot to cover in this matchup with A.J. Brown because you struggled immensely in that first game. Like I mentioned before, his numbers were very solid in that first matchup, and he is still the top receiver in this league, and the same with Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert. And Devontae Smith was not able to play in the first matchup. When I look at the offense for the Rams, Matthew Stafford did have a solid day like I mentioned before. When I look at Matthew Stafford, he's still the same guy that he was a couple years ago with the Detroit Lions. He may be slowing down in terms of his speed outside the pocket, but he will still go back there and be one of the toughest players in this league. The offensive line with the Rams has been consistent when they have been fully healthy. They're going to need this offensive line to go out there and be on their P's and Q's for the entire day, because this defensive front against the Eagles, they're going to try to go out there and hunt Matthew Stafford. When I look at Sean McVay, he's done an excellent job this year of having a balanced attack on the offensive end with running the football, working off of play action, and passing the football to Puka Nacua and to Cooper Kupp. We have to realize something here, and we have to remember this. Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua, they haven't been playing together the entire time this season. They've had some games where both guys have missed time. And the same with Puka Nacua, where he has missed some time this year. If you're able to go out there and feature those guys behind them, like a Tutu Atwell, like a DeMarcus Robinson, you'll be better off. And we saw last week, the tight end, he got injured. He will be able to play in this game. I'm talking about Tyler Higbee. He had to go to the hospital. He was coughing up blood. He was the mismatched guy last week against the Minnesota Vikings. You could say that Sean McVay just has the key game plan against Brian Flores and also against Kevin O'Connell. That could be true. But when I look at the defense with the Philadelphia Eagles, them missing Nakobe Dean is going to hurt. So Tyler Higbee may be the guy to step up in this matchup. And I'm not saying don't go out there and don't target Cooper Kupp, don't target Puka Nacua. Obviously get those guys involved. They're your best players on this offense alongside Matthew Stafford and Kyren Williams. But those outsiders, they're going to have to step up. If you can get a big play from Tutu Atwell in this matchup, that would be amazing, because we've seen Tutu Atwell in the past, last season and for this season, go down there and be a major deep threat. All it takes is 40 or 50 yards. He puts you right there in scoring range. And DeMarcus Robinson, in one-on-one situations, he's one of the best wide receivers in terms of being a number 3 or even a number 4 wide receiver. Depends on how you look at him. And I look at the Rams. This is the best it's going to get against a team like the Philadelphia Eagles. You have 2 true number 1 wide receivers. And Cooper Kupp, just a few years ago, he was a Triple Crown winner. Had one of the best seasons we have ever seen for a wide receiver. And you have Puka Nacua in just his second year. He's the true number 1 with this organization. You have the pieces to go out there and to beat the Philadelphia Eagles, create those creases, and try to run the football with Kyren Williams. Get him involved as a pass catcher, but also play complementary football. Get the football out quick. Now look at Matthew Stafford. He has the ability to make those tight window throws that other quarterbacks have not been able to make against this Philadelphia Eagles man coverage defense. And we saw this last week with Jordan Love. He made so many countless mistakes against his defense. He threw those 3 interceptions. And I look at Matthew Stafford. He's done a very good job of taking care of the football this year. I am worried about the Eagles, because usually when you face Matthew Stafford once and you give him a lot of problems, the second time around, they come back and he'll have an answer for your defense. With all that being said, this is going to be a very good football game. Depending on who you ask, last week wasn't the best slate of games. This weekend will be one of the best slates we have seen in playoff history because of the matchups. I do have the Philadelphia Eagles winning this game. And I have the Philadelphia Eagles winning this game 35-24. But let me know in the comment section below, who do you have coming out with this win? The Philadelphia Eagles or the Los Angeles Rams? If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. If you like the video, hit the like button. Most importantly, when each and every last one of you guys stay safe, stay positive. Thanks for the video, guys. God bless. Peace.